Alright, so we have teaching students with learning disabilities. So when we're recognizing potential learning disabilities, those are usually identified in the early elementary years. So early signs that you would notice would be students having difficulty with simple instruction adequate to their age. Students with learning disabilities may also have difficulty utilizing basic skills but still appear to be around average intelligence. They're going to show inconsistency among different subjects, meaning like they could be very good at math, but then be much slower in reading or writing. They'll show ineffective learning strategies, and learning strategies are methods students use to plan, begin, and complete learning tasks. So other ways of recognizing potential learning disabilities are doing screening and checklists. So some assessment procedures. An assessment is an information gathering process that includes both informal and formal procedures such as observation, inventories, and work sample analysis. Assessments first will evaluate a student's current intellectual functioning. The common test used for this is the Wechsler Intelligence Scale, and that's ages 6 through 17. And after that, you move on to evaluating the academic achievement. And that common test is the Peabody Individual Assessment Test, and that's K through 12. So, and the third area of assessment is information processing. And that common test is developmental test of visual perception, and that basically tests your memory, visual processing, attention, etc. And then from there, the inclusion team would best decide what the student needs extra help with and go from there.
Once assessments are completed, the inclusion team meets to plan the student's IEP. During that meeting, the individual is involved in making the decision of if and what special services and classroom adaptations need to be made for that student. On the left, we have special services that they provide for those students. The resource classroom is the most typical placement for students with learning disabilities, both part and full day special education, meaning that some students go into a special education classroom full time, and some are in the general education classroom and get pulled for certain subjects or during certain transitions. Some districts provide special classes for those individuals with comprehensive learning needs. Speech and language clinicians offer assistance in oral language development. Some students receive counseling from the school psychologist, social worker, or counselor. Individuals with motor problems may attend special physical education classes. Consultant services are available for the general education classroom teacher to assist in teaching students with learning disabilities. Academic instruction is the main focus when making classroom adaptations for students with learning disabilities while they are in the general education classroom. Some students also require assistance in their classroom behavior. There are two different approaches for the instruction of students with learning disabilities. The first one is the remediation approach. This is where the teacher instructs the students in skills that are areas of need. This technique is usually used to teach basic skills and are the most appropriate for an elementary age student. The textbook gives an example of extra assistance in spelling to a 4th grader who spells at the 2nd grade level. The second method is compensation. This is where the teacher bypasses the student's weaknesses. This technique is used to bypass any deficiencies in basic skills to teach content area subjects, so they are most commonly used in the middle school and high school ages. An example of this that the text gives is, tests are given orally if a student has issues with reading or writing. Handwriting, spelling, written expression, and math are all of those aforementioned basic skills. Most students learn the basic skills in the early elementary years in their general education classrooms if it is a part of the curriculum. Students with special needs, however, may not and might require special assistance in order to progress. The general education teacher can enhance the learning of students with special needs by modifying the techniques they use to teach the basic skills. The textbook recommends these 3 adaptations, providing prompts, giving additional instruction, and allowing extra guided practice. Prompts are defined as features which provide structure that are added to learning tasks. Prompts show the individuals with learning disabilities and other students who have difficulty focusing attention on relevant instruction cues and what exactly to do. An example of prompt is on the bottom left, where you see the different steps on how to make the letter A in both uppercase and lowercase. The next focus is giving additional instruction. The teacher should break down the subject matter into small steps and present it as slowly as the individual struggling needs. Last one is allow extra guided practice. The teacher can monitor performance during these practices using different aids when needed, such as peer tutor, adult volunteer, or can give the student some self-correcting materials. So up at the top right, you can see an example of self-correcting materials with flashcards that on one side have the question and the other side have both the question and answer. One of those basic skills mentioned was reading, and every basic skill has smaller sub-skills. Word recognition and comprehension are two very important sub-skills of reading. Word recognition is the ability to decode printing symbols. This is accomplished by sight if the word is familiar or by analysis of the word's phonetic components or structure, such as roots, prefixes, and suffixes. Reading comprehension is the ability to understand what is read. This involves knowing the meanings of individual words, following the sequence of events in a passage, detecting the main ideas, drawing conclusions, and making inferences. There are two major approaches used to teaching reading skills, which are the code emphasis approach and the meaning emphasis approach. The code emphasis approach teaches decoding first, then comprehension. An example the text gives is the phonics method. This is where students first learn the sound for each letter and practice reading phonetically regular words. Other types of words are then introduced. The meaning emphasis approach is comprehension first, where the student practices decoding by reading common words. An example that the text gives is the whole language approach. Reading is not broken down into separate skill areas, and skills such as decoding are not taught separately. Instead, reading is integrated with other language arts of listening, speaking, and writing. Research clearly suggests the explicit code emphasis programs are more effective than the implicit meaning emphasis programs, especially for children with special needs. The textbook lists multiple studies done by numerous different researchers on page 184 if you're interested. However, the textbook does mention two more approaches to reading skills called phonological awareness and reading fluency. Phonological awareness is the ability to hear and recognize the individual components of a word, skill for younger readers, and the reading fluency is the ability to read text both quickly and accurately, pertinent to older readers. Also on page 184, the text gives many suggestions for modifying reading instruction and includes examples of prompts and ways to enhance the practice of reading skills. I just wanted to highlight a few of them here. Advanced organizers are materials that are provided to students in order to facilitate understanding of what they will be reading. Some examples of these are introductory questions, key terms to look for in the reading passages, outlines of materials to be read, and brief summaries of content or characters. It also suggests repeated readings, so having students reread a passage several times to increase reading fluency, speed, accuracy, and comprehension. This helps the student master a selection before attempting to move to a more difficult one. SQ3R is survey, question, read, recite, and review. Students first survey the passage to gain a general understanding of the text, then they ask any questions that they have. They then read to find the answers, and the answers are then recited without using the text. And then finally, they review the entire passage again and repeat if they need to. Reciprocal teaching is teachers help students develop comprehension skills and the ability to monitor their own comprehension by involving students in dialogues about the text. An example of these are summarizing, asking questions, clarifying, and making predictions. The next basic skills are handwriting, spelling, and written expression. The goal in handwriting instruction is for students to write legibly with sufficient speed. Usually, manuscript is taught first and cursive is taught in the middle elementary years. Some students find difficulty with forming and spacing letters, so cursive may be less demanding. For example, the letters B and D require a similar motor pattern and can be easily confused. In cursive, however, they are writing those letters very differently. Some students struggle with the transition from print to cursive, which often has them writing capital letters in print and the rest of the word in cursive, like the Danielian handwriting system. If legibility and speed are not effective, however, this style is acceptable. Spelling is the arrangement of letters to form words. Since the English language is not completely phonetic, many words cannot be spelled the same way they sound. Teaching spelling only from phonics is not the best practice, especially for students who learn words slowly. Combining basic instruction in phonics and instruction in spelling common words as well as words as their own choosing is a way of teaching that produces an excellent individualized spelling program. Lessons can be modified for students with special needs as necessary, like reducing the number of words learned in each week or omitting similar words like receive and peace into one per lesson. Written expression is the process of putting one's thoughts down on paper. Several skills are required, such as writing, handwriting, spelling, punctuation, and capitalization, as well as language skills, such as knowledge of word meaning and grammar. It also requires thinking skills, such as organization, sequence, and logic. Many students with special needs need to have the written language skills taught directly. The text gives many examples and prompts on page 186, such as providing dictionaries, use handwriting prompts as shown before, hand out instructional note cards with high frequency and phonetically challenging spelling words, provide opportunities to practice written expression such as daily journaling, teach writing as a multi-stage process, giving the students a format for writing paragraphs or essays, and mapping, which is where the student lists the keywords and ideas they have for a topic, writes about those ideas, and then draws a map connecting the relationships between the main topic and the keywords.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Jade, and I'm reading you the last 2 slides of Chapter 9. Many students with special needs require extra assistance in math. Within the area of math are 2 important subskills, computation and reasoning. Computation is based on the prerequisite skills of number concepts, reading and writing numerals, and counting. It includes mastery of number facts and the basic operations, those being addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. In math reasoning, computation skills are used to solve problems. A typical classroom example is word or story problems in which students are presented with a situation and asked to find a solution. Some students find these difficult because poor reading skills interfere with their understanding of the problem. Others have trouble separating essential information from unnecessary information, determining the appropriate algorithm, and computing the answers. Now to our slide of teaching basic skills for math. Adding visual prompts can help students solve computation problems. For students who have trouble spacing math problems and writing numbers, use paper that has been marked off in squares or add guidelines. Include only a few problems per page if students are confused by several problems or if they have difficulty finishing their work. Work towards automatic recall of numbers. Facts are automatic when students no longer need to rely on counting strategies. Responses should be quick, accurate, and consistent. Daily drills and the use of flashcards are a good strategy for promoting fluency. Manipulating objects may help some students learn basic number concepts and relationships. Examples: blocks, beans, macaroni noodles. Use real situations for word problems. Example: maybe the student's own performance data. Help students begin to analyze story problems by identifying the keywords that often but not always signal the different operations. Those might be some, total, more than, less than, words like that. Set up a class store, bank, or stock exchange and devise different activities for practicing math reasoning. In the late elementary grades, the curriculum shifts in emphasis from learning the basic skills to the use of these basic subjects to gain other types of information. Content areas such as English, science, health, history, and social studies begin to dominate the curriculum. Content area instructions assumes that students have mastered the basic skills of reading, writing, and math. And for students with special needs, this is simply not the case. For these students to benefit from instruction, modifications must be made. 2 types of changes are recommended. First being changing the criteria for task performance. The second being altering the characteristics of content area tasks. Now, task criteria include speed and accuracy demands and the amount of work required. And task characteristics refer to the basic skills necessary for performance. So, modifying content area instructions. Reading assignments. Reduce the amount of reading required, permitting students to read only parts of the assignment or concentrate on more important elements. Substitute materials written for a lower reading level. So if you're teaching 10th grade at a 10th grade level and maybe you need to drop it down to a 6th grade level because Some people might have a lower reading level. Present information through another medium. Example, visual aids such as photos. Math skills. Content area subjects often require that students have rudimentary math skills. Basic facts and algorithms are necessary for success in algebra, geometry, etc. Giving students facts, tables for basic computation, or the use of calculators for problems requiring more complex operations may help. Students need to learn how to operate calculators, estimate what the answer should be, and then check the results. For written assignments and exams, for students who work slowly, reduce the length of tasks, or extend the time, allow students with poor handwriting or spelling to use a word processor. Provide course spellers with a list of commonly misspelled words or dictionary. Design assignments and exams so that writing is minimized, so using multiple choice questions or true or false. And students who are unable to compose and write at the same time, compose using an audio recorder and then transcribe what they have dictated. And finally, have students respond through a medium other than writing. Two methods are the student telling answers to peer tutors or volunteers who write for them, or giving oral responses to the teacher. That's it. Have a good rest of your day.